Bonjour tout le monde. Nous allons faire les adjectifs aujourd'hui. So we're going to do descriptive adjectives today. Really a great skill, since if you ever get a chance to go to France, you are going to need to use adjectives to describe all the beautiful, amazing, tasty, delightful things that you will experience there. So it is a little bit longer lesson today. It's a little bit more to go through, but really productive vocabulary to help you continue on your French journey. So on y va, let's go. So we're going to start with a question. What is the study of flags called? So I just learned this word about 5 years ago, and that's what's fascinating about English or any language that you're learning. I've been speaking English for decades now, and I continuously learn new words. And that is the same as I journey through Spanish and French. I'm always collecting new words as I build a stronger foundation of my vocabulary. So there's always hope. If it's stuck now, it takes a long time and you're always growing. That's one thing I also love about learning foreign languages or languages. It just never stops. It's a lifelong process. So I think I gave you definitely enough time to think about the answer. What is the study of flags called? A person who studies flags is a vexillologist. One who designs flags is a vexillographer. And the art of designing flags is called vexillography. One who is a hobbyist or general admirer of flags is a vexophile. So I think I would consider myself a vexophile. After I learned this word, I was always making my students identify flags to practice nationalities. And each flag has a different story and a different history. And I never knew that there was actually a word for that. And that's the study, that's vexillology. So the study of flags, or vexillology, was formalized by the U.S. scholar and the student of flags Whitney Smith in 1961 with the publication of the Flag Bulletin. During his lifetime, Smith organized various flag organizations and meetings, including the First International Congress of Vexillology. The use of flags goes back to the earliest days of human civilization. The study of that usage is a serious fashion is so recent that the term for it did not appear in print until 1959. Before this time, study of flags was generally considered a part of the heraldry, the study of armorial bearings, like when you look at different armor and things like that. So, involvement in vexillology includes academic work in fields such as sociology, history or design, professional or otherwise, contributions from the flag industry, and the interest from those simply passionate about flags. So I thought this was really interesting. So the study of flags is called vexillology. So with that being said, comment dit-on flag in French? Le drapeau. Bien fait. So nous allons faire un peu de vocabulaire avec le drapeau. So I want you guys to identify the flags, the nationality, by looking at the flags. So the first one, l'Allemand, bien fait. So that would be Germany. The second one, l'Italien, Italian. The troisième, the third, l'anglais, English. So England, so Germany, Italy, English, British. L'espagnol, le drapeau espagnol, the Spanish flag. Le drapeau japonais, the Japanese flag. Et le drapeau flamand, the Flemish flag. Bien fait. Well done, everyone. So we're going to continue practicing les nationalités. Albert Einstein est algérien, allemand ou marocain? Allemand. Le roi Philippe, King Philip, est espagnol, el rey Felipe. le Grand Muraille, the Great Wall. Et Chinois, le Grand Muraille Chinois, the Great Wall of China. So you guys have a list. These were the same that we had on our vocab list, but just to review, because you need to see a word and hear a word at least 7 times before you memorize it. So go ahead and take a look at your list. See how many you can identify. Âgé is old. Beau, belle is beautiful, good looking. Faible is weak. Fatigué, tired. Fort is strong. Grand is big. Big as in tall. Gros is big as in fat. Jeune is young. Jolie is pretty. Laid is ugly. Mignon, cute. Mince, thin. Petite, small. Vieille, vieux, old. So these are some more. Actif, active. Amusant, amusing, funny. Content, happy. Écontracté, laid back, easygoing. Déprimé, depressed. Ennuyeux, boring. Fier, proud. Gentil, nice. Heureux, happy. Mauvais, bad. So this is a lot of words. I know that I best learned by using flashcards. There's some really amazing technology on our phones nowadays, and you can actually make your own flashcards. Repetition is the key to building anything that you want to memorize, and especially short words like this. It's easier to do flashcards. Méchant is mean. Occupé is busy. Relax is laid back. Rigolo is funny. Sérieux, sérieux is serious. Sportif is sporty. Sympa, sympathique is nice. Triste is sad. Other adjectives would be all the nationalities we just did as well. And there's obviously so many more as well. Now we're going to do les couleurs. So you have blanc, bleu, blonde, brune, châtain, gris, jaune, marron, noir, noisette. Orange, rose, rouge, roux, violet. So position of descriptive adjectives. So we just practiced all these adjectives and now we're going to put them to use. Well, where do you put them? Descriptive adjectives give information about people, places, and things. In French, they usually follow the nouns they modify. They may also follow the verb être. Par exemple, the cat is a snob. Le chat est snob. You also could say le chat snob. A lot of times, like it said, it follows the noun. It could be le livre, or you're going to see it with the verb être. I'm going to give you plenty of examples to begin with. So, descriptive adjectives must agree in gender and number with the person, place, or thing they modify. Carmen est fleur. So if your noun is feminine, then your adjective is feminine. If your noun is masculine, your adjective is masculine. Pierre est sportif. Pierre is athletic. So I have a couple more examples for you. In the singular, masculine, le livre vert. So the green book. The feminine, le porte vert, right? So this has to be la because and this has to have an E added to the end of green, vert to make it feminine. So everything has to agree with each other. The plural, les livres verts. To make this le livre vert plural, all we had to do is add an S to everything. In the feminine, les portes verts. So la changes to les, and everything adds an S. So if you have studied Italian before or Spanish, it follows the same exact pattern where everything must agree in gender and number with the person, place, or thing that they modify. Note that E with an accent is different from E. Masculine adjective ending in an E accent still require the addition of an E to the feminine form. So for example, occupé is the masculine. In order to make that feminine, we still need to add another E, but with no accent. So occupé, which means busy. Âgé, old. Âgé, you still have to add another E. However, when an E is added to an adjective ending in a consonant, that consonant becomes pronounced. So grand, right? So when you say grand in the masculine form, you can't hear the D. But if I add an E to the end of it and I have to make it feminine, grande, it does change the pronunciation. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about patterns when it comes to plural, and I broke it down for you. So if your adjective ends in EUX, for example, heureux, happy, the masculine singular form, EUX, for the feminine, heureuse. Right, so EUX in the feminine form changes to EUSE. If I was going to make that plural, you have to add another S on the end of it, heureuse. Travailleur, worker, hard worker. So anything that ends in an EUR. To make it plural, I have to add an S, travailleur. So just to clarify, masculine EUX, that is for the plural as well. So that is singular and plural. For the feminine, travailleuse, travailleuses. Right, so you have to add an S. Words that end in ER, cher. To make it masculine plural, cher, just add an S to the end of the consonant. Cher, we had to add an E to the end of this to make it feminine. To make that plural, you just add an S. Words that end in IF, sportif. I think mine was backwards a little bit there. So the feminine is sportive and sportives. So the masculine singular is sportif. The plural is sportifs. All you have to do is add an S. The feminine is IVES, sportives. So that would go for any adjective that ends in IF. Adjectives that end in IL, gentil. The plural, just add an S for the masculine, gentil. The feminine is ILLE. So you add an LE to the end, and to make it plural, you add an S. So don't worry, it does take a while to wrap your brain around all these really minute details. And again, it's just with repetition and practicing, being willing to put yourself out there, make a fool of yourself, make mistakes. Making mistakes is the best way to learn and grow, especially when you're trying to learn a language. Okay, so adjectives that end in EL, mine should say intellectual. You add an S to the end to make it masculine. To make words that end in EL plural or feminine, you add an LE. And to make that plural, you add an S, intellectual. Words that end in IEN, Parisien. So that means someone from Paris. To make that feminine, or to make that plural, you add an S. To make that feminine, it's IENNE. So you have to add an NE to the N, and to make it plural, just add the S, Parisiens. So there's more adjectives than just the ones I showed you. I just gave you an example for each of those. Other adjectives that follow these patterns include courageux, paresseux, sérieux, fier, naïf, canadien, beau, nouveau, belle, nouvelle, chic. So there are a whole bunch of them, but just with practice, you will start to get a hang of it, I promise. So adjectives usually follow the nouns they modify. Le chat is our noun. And now if I was going to say, I'm being ironic here, the athletic or sporty cat, le chat sportif. Le chat sportif. So adjectives, mind you, usually follow the nouns they modified. And again, if I needed to make that plural, le chat becomes les chats. And sportif, words that end in if, sportifs. If it was masculine, sportifs. If it was feminine, it would be sportives because it ends in if. Le chat sportif. So the adjective, they say the cat fat or the cat active, the cat ugly, the book green. The adjective usually follows the nouns. But like everything in French, it's more compliqué. It's more complicated than that. And I'm just going to do... Some adjectives go before the noun. A quick way to remember if the adjective comes before or after noun is that long adjectives come after the noun while short adjectives precede the noun. I don't know where you want to make that cutoff though. So I use this acronym to help me remember the adjectives that do come before the noun. So like I said, usually adjectives come after a noun, but there's always exceptions when you're learning language. And these are the exceptions in French. So these adjectives will come before. And I use BANGS as my acronym. So beauty, so words that describe beauty. Beau, joli, words that describe age. Old is vieux, jeune is young, nouveau is new. Numbers, première, deuxième, troisième, that's the first, the second, the third. Greatness, bon, which means good. Mauvais means bad. Meilleur, the best. Pire, the worst. Anything that's referring to size, petite, gros, grand, le petit livre, le gros chat, la grande classe. So these adjectives all come before the noun. So that is a lot of small details to remember because there's a small amount of them, but enough to make it a little bit confusing. But again, if you end up putting this adjective after the noun, most French people will be delighted that you're even making the attempt to speak their language, and they're probably going to correct you. And that is probably the best way to learn. Okay, so on y va. Some adjectives have different meanings depending on whether they come before or after the noun. So the noun changes. So some can come before and after, and actually they all can. So if I said mon ancienne maison, that means my former house. But if I said une maison ancienne, that means an old house. So it changes the definition if it precedes the noun or it comes after, proceeds. So the next example, il a son propre sac. He has his own bag. Here we have propre, that's our adjective. He has his own bag, that's a possessive adjective. Un sac propre. If I put propre after sac, it means a clean bag. And that is a really different meaning there. The last one, le bébé est seul. The baby is alone. So you have seul coming after. J'ai un seul bébé. If I put the adjective before, I have one baby. So keep in mind that things are always fluid when it comes to adjectives and whether they go before and after the noun. So what we're going to do, we're going to practice. What I'd like you to do is translate the following into French. Now pay attention to whether you need to use a definite article, which would be your le and la, or your indefinite article, which is un and on. Un and une. So a blue pen, un stylo bleu. So that's what I was talking about, your definite article. If it had a in front of it, then you would use un, because stylo is masculine. An old door. Une porte vieille. The nice professor. Oops, so I said the nice professor. So I should have for my answer le prof sympa or la prof sympa, and I used an indefinite article, so that's probably really confusing, but I don't want to exit out because I'll show you all my answers. So make sure you guys have la or le, depending on what you put. And sympa wouldn't change because that's the short version of sympathique. Numéro 4, the green book. Le livre vert. Le livre vert. Numéro 5, the Italian student. L'étudiant italien. L'étudiante italienne. Now, if you made this feminine, you would add an E to étudiante, and you would add an N-E to the Italian. An old man. Un vieux homme. So remember, old, anytime you're talking about age, those adjectives come before the noun. The French woman. La femme française. Numéro 8, the young girl. So remember, I'm talking about age here. La jeune fille. La jeune fille. So the Spanish class. La classe espagnole. The Chinese book. Le livre chinois. So hopefully you have a better understanding of descriptive adjectives. Definitely use your cheat sheet today on your quiz. It'll make your life a lot easier, and also just the repetition and practice will make your French get a little bit stronger. Bonne journée tout le monde. If you have any problems, please contact me via email. I will see you in our next lesson. Ciao!